Yeah, I'm ready. Ian's ready.
All right. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Give Tom a second to sit down. Did everybody get a chance to look over the minutes from
Yes,
December? If I hear no discussion, I'll take a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Financial report, it's included. You've got any questions for Ian?
I just have one.
Yes.
On the crop science, we haven't received a payment since July.
That's correct.
Now, he was in telling us he travels, he can't pay, but my opinion on that is we need to let him know he needs to bring that current, or we'll start the process of calling it in or whatever to...
Yep.
That's just my opinion, but it's been 6 months, he always comes in with a...
Nice check, or?
We all travel, and
Yep.
we still pay our bills, so...
I agree.
Totally agree, yeah.
All right, yep,
Okay.
I'll get that process going.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ian.
Else on that, we'll take a motion to approve. Yep. Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Up next, you got EDA board elections.
Yeah, so, new year, time for elections for new board members. For new leadership within the board. As I included in my coordinator's report, and as you know, Dan Egler served as the president, Mike Peterson was the vice president, and I, through my role as EDA coordinator, served as secretary. So I guess we'd be looking for nominations for seats, or a motion perhaps, or any discussion. Any of the...
Keep going.
Sure.
All right, I nominate Dan for president. I'll nominate you for secretary. Anybody want to be vice president?
I'll nominate you.
I don't care.
Furthering your consolidation of power in the city.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that statement from 2 years ago,
Yeah,
so...
it's all
yeah.
locked up right in that bear trap of yours.
Okay. I would second that motion and move to close nominations.
Okay.
Okay, I'll second that.
All in favor of the
Slate.
slate that Tom has mentioned? Aye. Opposed? Okay, there we go.
All right, awesome.
Up next, we'll have the coordinator's report from Ian.
Yep, so my report is included in your packets. I'll just be brief. Just a few different things. With the Vale property, that's moving right along on schedule. There's a few other things coming up this month related to the TIF for the Affordable Apartment Project. At the council, there's going to be a public hearing as required for the TIF district, TIF plan at the second meeting coming up in January. And then at the Planning Commission, there's going to be a resolution of support that goes along with that TIF process as well. So, moving forward with that, assuming council will approve the TIF plan and everything, they're planning to close on the property and start construction this spring, and then it'll take about a year to construct the apartment and then open up in 2025 at some point. So, and then in addition to that, myself and other city staff and consultants have been working on working with a few different developers on developing the cemetery land. As you may be aware of, just a lot of challenges with working on that site, but I'm hopeful that we're getting closer moving forward. So that's what I have for you.
When you say cemetery, like you mean the property south of...
Yep, so it's the 44-acre parcel kind of south of the cemetery, but not including the cemetery, and south of Windsor Court and all of that, yeah.
Thank you, Ian. Included is the city administrator's report. He is not here, but if you got Any questions, you can call him on them. They're for you to look at. And then up next is the EDA priorities for 2024.
Yeah, so just to talk about some goal setting for 2024, you'll recall from 2023 there were a few different goals that we identified, mostly talking about, diversifying our housing opportunities, supporting businesses through the Highway 57 project, and those were most of the goals there. So looking ahead for 2024, we'll have some new goals to set. John shared some goals that I shared with all of you, so you have them to look at as well. Anyone has any ideas on goals for 2024? Any thoughts on the ones that John shared? Anything?
Just keep working, see if we can get more industrial business here, with the housing will come business, I'm hoping, but
Yeah.
if we can keep working on that, and find initiatives or...
Yeah, I think, I would phrase it as diversify tax base, which for us is gonna be predominantly commercial industrial. I think, last year we talked about, multifamily. I guess I would say maintaining that momentum. I think we have a great start on that one. I think kind of keeping that one going, and then I would agree, especially with John. I thought of the third one that John brought up, which is that kind of just that walkability or accessibility of Main Street. I think we've obviously started going down this path with your parking assessment, kind of testing out doing a test run of bump outs with those cones out there and the stop signs. So I think those would be good. I think I think with what John gave us here, like I said, I didn't separately thought of vehicular safety. The younger demographics is it's an interesting one. I do think that we're probably a younger community than we realize. I think it's more of a lack of engagement of the younger crowd. I think that maybe be how I would phrase it, which is still warrants a conversation, I guess. And then collaborating with surrounding communities more. I think that's a good point. It's not, for example, I'll give you an example of something that I've got. So we did the trolleys during Christmas and Casson. I think we've got interest from both parties of doing a combined trolley route next year, so little victories, but a nice little thing. I think getting what I'd like to see, I know
both parties?
Casson and Manorville Chambers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry, they also had a trolley. I want to have one big trolley situation going for the Christmas events next year. Sorry, I should have clarified. But something I know, like I'd like to see is, like at maybe, I don't know, you could do it with the EDA, I guess. But I was thinking, talking to some of our neighbors about having, maybe like a couple times a year, seeing if a couple officers from each of the chambers of the surrounding communities would want to get together and talk about, I don't know, see what's going on, what's working well, what's not, if there is anything we could work on together. You could do the same with an EDA, right? Like you could put out an open invite, do that sort of thing. But I'd probably, just given kind of where we're at right now with things, I would personally recommend we prioritize diversification of tax base, because we've got the 44 acres, we've got some of those conversations. I know that there's been work on like Dean Schuette's piece of ground, over by Dollar General. I mean, I think we're seeing activity there. I think maintaining the multifamily housing is important, because we have that momentum, you don't want to lose it. And then third, we've got the parking study, so I think it makes sense to continue on that path. You know, and I think keeping it to certain numbers, so not, no discounting the importance of them. I think it's just timing-wise, those would be the ones those three I would focus on.
Yeah, I want to interrupt just to say, I mean, I just spitballed some of these. You know, it wasn't like a set goal in my mind, it was kind of like ideas I would improve on maybe, but nothing sticks really, it just needs to stick. But we'll go from there.
Can I ask what happened to General Dollar?
Oh, Family
Dollar, the second dollar store that was to be built,
They're still working on it.
Yeah,
still in progress,
yeah.
or in possibility?
Yeah.
Yeah, and when we talk about, you know, partnering or getting closer to Manorville, we're 5 miles from Dodge Center. They had Christmas happening the same day we did. We're 5 miles from Byron. I think we need to try to encourage small town togetherness for basically Byron, Dodge Center, Casson, Manorville.
Yeah, that's kind of where my head went, was like more than just Casson Manaville, it was like, and
Right.
we're closer around.
Our small
basically.
little
Yeah.
towns that are with, I mean, Pine Island's kind of a reach, Kenyon's, or Wanamingo's a reach, but, you know, the four towns that we have in close proximity, just because we have a high school that's KM, doesn't mean that, you know, we shouldn't financially, business-wise. I think we all need each other.
All right, that looks like a good start.
Yeah. Well, if there's no other discussion on it, I'll take this ideas and probably refine some goals for the next meeting.
And the REV program, I think, is
And the REV.
the big
That's, yeah.
goal for the year for me is, I think a lot of these things, like John, you know, how do we engage the younger population to be involved in the process of, you know, what is out there for them to do or things to do? We need some folks that have, whatever demographic, you know, what is younger, right? As I get older, younger seems to be getting older also, so how do I define young, you know, so what do we define as younger, and then engage some of those folks to get involved to say, hey, we want it to be a more engaged community for the younger generation. What do you want? You know, get involved and help with that, so.
I think a good result was Christmas. Holy moly. We had a lot of people. That was very successful, and the majority of them were younger people in the
Thanks,
I
Ian.
would, you know, I would like to see downtown, and I don't know, what do you call the corridor to the highway? You know, we have a lot of business. The hardware store, we have the ice cream store, we have, you know, we have Burger King, we have a bank, we have another bank, we have, you know, to try to make our downtown bigger instead of Main Street. To me, downtown has to be more than just Main Street.
Well, it's kind of the way I have looked at it lately, is the downtown is all those businesses that are within those 2-3 blocks of Main Street. Because Main Street is only a couple blocks long, but but when we've talked about it before, we've discussed that downtown included the areas to the north and to the south. It's just, however you want to call it, you know, every downtown just gets bigger, if you want to say.
Right.
So I don't think there's any size of it or location. I think we just got to start putting it more into our minds that downtown is all those businesses.
Because I think out-of-towners come here and think of Casson downtown as 2 blocks or 3 blocks of Main Street.
Well, I would, you know, I I would differentiate between Main Street and what I'd call our central business district. The one thing is that, you know, so I mean, like, I think in our zoning, we have a central business district, and I think, you know, this is outside the EDA's purview, but, you know, the central business district, I mean, you can see it on that map to the right there, it's citing pink, is what it is. I mean, the question is, should that central business district come down 57 towards Highway 14? And to your point, there's been a lot of commercial development along that corridor. From a zoning ramifications, I have no clue. I don't know. I'm not on zoning, but, you know, it could be an interesting conversation to be had. Because I agree, I think, you know, part of the reason that you know, again, the trolleys were just a recent thing, but it was because that, to encourage that transportation or getting people out to areas that go beyond just Main Street, right? Because there's a lot of businesses, community stakeholders that go well beyond Main Street. But I think of Main Street as the place that's literally named Main Street, but then the business district does kind of, then it forms kind of a T almost that comes down, up and down 57 across on Main Street with a few other, I mean, like Cantel and Ivy kind of get off it, but, you know, kind of, creates a little bit more of a T shape than a straight line.
Do we have those, and I'm sorry, I haven't noticed, but the flags that we have on the street lights on
The banner.
Main Street, yeah, do we
Yeah.
have those?
Yeah.
They're on order.
57?
Yeah, they're.
Do we have those over at Hy-Vee? Do we have
Over at
one at
Hy-Vee.
the telephone company?
Oh, I don't know about Lisa.
No, mostly on Main Street and partway down 57, I think, is when they're gonna
Where
be.
the light poles
Where
are,
the light poles are with the,
Yeah.
the brackets fit on those light poles.
Yeah, that's just the ones that come in the brackets on them. I think were there some up at, like, by the pool or something? I thought there was, I was told that, yeah, I was told, well, it had nothing to do with it, was just, that was where the backup ones were kept,
Oh, I see.
was up there.
They were like.
yeah, I don't know, so.
I don't know. But no, they're mostly 57
I don't know.
on Main Street.
Yeah.
They're on order.
Yeah, they came down 57 and then Main Street.
Yeah,
Okay, and then, well, I'm thinking that, who does those flags? It's not the city, it's
chamber.
Chamber,
Chamber.
yeah, we've been,
Okay.
they're on order through Castle Laser Graphics, have been for a while.
So, is the plan to put them up?
Yes.
I
That's
mean,
the plan.
no,
That's the plan.
when you get them, are we gonna see one down by Hardware Hank?
I hope so.
Okay.
I hope so. I hope we see them up here this spring. A little bit of
Sorry
All right.
about that.
yeah, a little bit of a
So,
Okay, moving on.
we'll move on.
When do we get a new, replacement? And I'm sorry, this is probably off,
Next meeting,
next week or
next
month?
meeting.
Okay.
Oh, for Mike's seat, you mean, on the
Yeah.
board? Yeah, yeah. Next meeting.
Hey, up next, we'll meet with our Rev coach.
So we'll turn it over to Leah here, who's our coach from Rev, who will be highly involved with the process, at least for these first few months. Yeah.
Well, yeah, actually throughout the whole entire
And,
time.
and throughout the whole entire time.
Yeah, sorry, I've got things open and I'm going back to your way to the agenda
Can't keep Jakey getting Jakey with her.
Okay, so, he and I met, and I've gone through some of the materials that I had ahead of time, that was the application, and I'll just actually back up. Leah Petrichka, I am your Rev coach, again, for those that don't know, but it's a 3-year journey, and so this is sort of the kickoff. And we actually have a lot of pre-described, like, activities, sort of things, motions that you're supposed to go through. So, I'm gonna put a pin on that for just a moment. But one of the things then, as I've looked through some of the stuff, has been that Ian and or those that helped with the application kind of decided that the EDA board would likely be who the core team is, and again, there's been iterations of what we call that group. But I would highly recommend that we actually think about that as being a little bit broader than the EDA. One is I had some conversations with Ian, and you guys kind of just went through there is sort of supposed to be some distinction between what is the EDA and your guys' goals to what is Rev and their goals. And it doesn't have to be complete dismantling of either, right? But how are we looking at this being something that's, again, above and beyond what the EDA is already looking to work on and achieve? And so something I'd like us to discuss today is what does maybe that look like of separating it out if there's some EDA members that want to be on? What would be, we'll just kind of call it the core team because that's what I remember it to be easiest. But we're going to do this activity called stakeholder mapping, and in your packets they have some kind of categories as to what you might sort of label a person, or if you said, I read this description and yeah, so-and-so jumps out, or so-and-so jumps out. I think it's page 20-something in the agenda. I just kind of want to map who are assets already in your community, and again, as we kind of go through that conversation, we'll kind of bridge into what does that look like moving forward for this REV process. And I want to end with us talking about, again, thinking about our meeting time. Because I don't want to consume all of your guys' EDA meeting time, especially if we also maybe separate it out from EDA. Because I know you guys already have agenda items that you want to tackle. And some of these first couple of months activities, they can be upwards of an hour and a half long. And so I know many of you probably don't want to spend 2 hours together, let alone maybe even 90 minutes. And so trying to figure out how do we best do that in your community, and then based on who's involved. So 12 o'clock for some may not be as convenient. Granted, nobody loves night meetings, but that might be the direction you have to think about. So before we do anything else, again, in that packet we have the stakeholder mapping. And I don't want to gloss over that I'm not trying to get to know you guys. Again, I just wanted to be concise for this meeting because I don't want to take up your EDA time. And so going forward, I have some other things where I'd like to get to have more dialogue on, get to know you and build trust and rapport with you. But for today, I'm going to jump right into this asset mapping activity. And so, again, I don't know the page number offhand, but I can tell you guys are all flipping at it. Just wanting to think about who are the assets that are already in your community in terms of that social capital. So I'd like you guys to list off, and if you had a chance to do it ahead of time but are on the fly. So again, there's folks that are considered your scouts. They're people that kind of go to the conferences, they track opportunities, they kind of know what's going on around the community, and they're usually the first people to engage. You have your champions, those that are really out there leading, maybe not as actively involved in civic activities, but you could see them in other spaces. So who really champions this community? You have your challengers, those who tend to kind of come with that negative viewpoint and or maybe want to challenge the process before they're willing to get on board. You have your rainmakers, they really don't come to meetings, but they kind of discreetly in their own ways champion the projects and or they might be really great at raising money or funds if that's something that's needed. You have your community builders that are well-intended, they volunteer, but don't see themselves as leaders. How do we build up those folks to become the leaders of your community? And as you guys noted, maybe some of that youth aspect, how do we get folks that maybe are involved regardless of age that maybe haven't traditionally been serving in some capacity? And then the rest of the community, and again, that's just going to be your general state of the community and saying they're residents that are not directly engaged, they might stay informed, but they also are not looking to step up in any way and or say, hey, I've served my time, so thank you. I will watch and hopefully encourage others to be a part of it. So, kind of going through that rundown, and then again on the next page is just groups that might fit into that. But anybody want to start with who are some of the players and how would you define them in that list? They can have more than one hat, but wanting kind of identify who else in the community is, or not, I shouldn't say who else. What does the community makeup look like? Who are our scouts? Who are our champions? Who are our challengers?
And you're looking for people's names?
Direct, actual people's names. Mm-hmm.
Not like a group?
No, not, we can list groups, but as specific as we can get is ideal.
Yeah, I would put, I don't know, like one person that came to mind from you right away was like Darren Steffel. I don't know if I'd put him under just the Minnesota Wi-Fi guy.
I know.
Yeah, oh, you looked at me like, who is that guy? And I was like, huh.
No, I'm just...
Steal it, sheet, 'cause I didn't print it ahead of time.
What group you're gonna put him under?
You know, that's
All of
actually
them.
what you said. I was thinking, I don't know which one I would put him under. I was thinking either Champion or Rainmaker, probably.
I'd say more towards Rainmaker.
Okay.
You don't see him at meetings, but yet he's involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
How long has our theater been closed?
Couple of years.
I mean, I feel like I think of like, John, your clan, the Tollefsons have been in the community for a long time, and are, you know, I think somewhere between, again, champions and rainmakers.
Probably more rainmakers nowadays, but maybe.
Yeah.
They're kind of sitting back there, but
Sure.
I'll probably be more of a champion, I guess.
Who's a scout? Who maybe is pretty active, kind of always just pays attention, reads the newsletters? Well-informed?
I would almost go with, I mean, I feel like for me, I would almost lean on like Tim Hibbish, right? Like the city of, like, I feel like Tim's the one that usually is like, oh, I was at this conference and this conference and this conference. I don't know if I have, yeah. I think, I mean, I guess he's not so much a Casson guy, but, like, there's a guy named Jim Checkle who's involved in various some Casson things, but he's kind of in a whole lot of organizations, and tends to be at a lot of, he always seems to be at conferences and following on different organizations. I feel like Jen Galloway's
I was just gonna bring her up, yeah.
Yeah.
Community builder is probably her role.
somewhere between community builder and scout.
Yeah.
I'd say
What did you say her last name was?
Galloway.
Galloway, okay. So again, if there is a new business in town, and/or, I guess if you just wanted to get to know, where would you go in town? Where's the talking spot? Who's the chatterbox? Good,
Depends
good
on
or bad?
which chatter you want.
Yeah.
Well.
You can go to the coffee club at the grocery store every morning.
Okay,
Coffee club.
You'll get educated.
coffee
Yeah.
splash there, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll,
Well, like, I mean, Jenna is the person that we have, so at the chamber, we do ribbon cuttings for new businesses.
Sure, yep.
And, yeah, Jen's usually the one who says, hey, this new person's coming to town, we gotta do ribbon cutting, you know, because she's also KMTEL's business liaison person. So when they call in for, you know, internet, phone,
Sure.
Jen.
Jen kinda has that inside.
I think our liquor store administrator's very active in getting
Kathy.
Kathy Pletta, yeah, she's good.
business. At least in the liquor store.
Sure. Yeah, no, Kathy's,
She's got a real good personality to
yeah.
get people to come do business, yes. And I'm terrible with names. Who's the lady at the carpet store?
Angie.
Angie Bowman?
Yeah, I don't know. Could be.
Yeah, and,
She owned the carpet store
Yep.
and the dance studio.
yeah.
Yeah, it's Angie Bowman.
Angie Bowman.
Oh, she is certainly out there.
Yeah.
You got,
That can be taken several different ways.
Well,
Got,
and here's what I can Okay, what?
She's out there.
Now, you know, we have the lots next to them, and when
Mhm.
I had met her, and her husband couldn't believe that I didn't know who she was, if I belonged to the chamber. Then I went to the next chamber meeting, and I thought, oh yeah, now I know. Yep, so, you know, I, you know, you just have people who are not afraid of,
You got, Tim Tosis, he's a county commissioner, and he lives in town. He knows,
oh yeah,
he was a former mayor, council, he knows a lot going on still.
Yeah.
He's still involved quite a bit. Maybe not in much in public eye as he used to be, but
yeah. But you need, yeah.
he's, you know, involved in quite a few different,
Yeah. I think Stevie Ersland, I'd put her as
Rancy?
like a champion.
Or community builder.
Yeah, I mean, I think like, I mean, 'cause she was the one that like went ahead and like put together these different 5Ks and stuff,
Yeah.
you know, so I'd say like that's, like if you're the one that initiates that out of the blue, like you're probably more champion than builder, based on just reading these.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
But she does the building, which I think, I mean,
Yeah.
she may bring up an idea, but she's
Yeah, and then
a
she
lot
does
with
it.
follow
Yeah, she
through.
executes, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, she does a lot of.
Because I think with the Irish Day,
Yeah.
you know, they
yeah.
got started on Main Street, that was
Yep,
her and
That was her.
and
Yeah.
the
October.
tattoo people.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Obviously, there must be somebody at the Legion that would be pulled into this, because the improvement at our Legion is huge compared to what it was 4 years ago, where it was hardly, and I will say, it's run by women now, sorry, guys. But it is, and it's,
So is my house, so is my house, that's fine. I'm used to that, so is my house, Janice. She's a builder, a scout, a challenger, and a rainmaker, so I'm fine.
and you're the rest of the community.
I'm just whatever, I'm
Whatever the day.
I'm the soldier, just doing what I'm told to do.
Sometimes.
Oh,
That's Christy Ishens, who's the commander there.
yeah,
yeah,
she would be there, yeah.
yeah, Christie's great. I would also, and then at the, I was gonna say at the Lions Club, I feel like I deal with Mark Packard, because I've heard,
Yeah,
you know, and he does all that stuff with the benches, putting out those benches.
yeah.
I feel like some, like I do think the school district, and I'm not sure, as an individual, but I think like the school district as an entity falls into a lot of things.
Sure. Yep.
You know, they're kind of a force in town.
We're in the process of changing superintendent.
Okay, so there's gonna be a,
There again, the lady who has the childcare, whatever.
Community Ed, Jenny Carrier.
Community Ed,
Okay.
she's excellent, I
Yeah,
think, as far
she
as
is.
getting things.
Yeah, she would be a scout and a champion, probably.
Yeah,
I mean, Community Ed does a lot of things.
yeah.
Yeah, they're very active.
You have to have community builders, though.
Yeah, I know, that's,
Tanya Young's involved in quite a few things and never really shies away from
Oh, yeah, Tanya.
doing something. I mean, she's
very,
not afraid to,
yeah, she does a lot of.
There's getting a very active FFA out at the high school, too, that, for the alumni, and I would, tell you who that is, but there again, I don't remember. Their name. She used to be Dallas Ness, well, she still is Dallas Ness'
I
daughter.
was gonna say, she still is Dallas's daughter.
Dallas still alive. What's her name?
Which one is it?
They own she and her sister have the daycare.
Maggie?
Maggie.
Or Marlo?
Probably Maggie. Maggie's more involved with FFA.
Maggie Fitch
Yeah.
and Marlo Boner,
Boner.
Maggie.
Yeah, I think Maggie,
Those two are quite involved in quite a bit.
yeah.
Get a good group.
I was gonna say, you guys have listed off 15 people, which, and again, there's no distinct number. I want us to record this list. I jotted it, based on names I'm hearing, I'm like, probably sounds like this.
You can get it all off the tape.
Yeah, exactly.
And I got two other ones to mention for
Yeah.
challengers,
Okay,
and I mean this in the best way.
Yeah.
John Talcott and Jerry Berg. Just as my 7 years as mayor, I get emails from them, not as regularly as I used to, when it says there are members who watch for potential risks and mistakes.
Yep.
So if there's a mistake on an ordinance or something, those two seem to be very detail-oriented, and
Yeah.
they mean the best by it.
And they work with you to solve it, yeah.
Yep.
So those would be two names that are
perfect.
always
They're
looking for.
positive criticism.
Yeah,
Constructive.
Which you need.
You do.
So again, not all of these folks have to be directly involved in this web process, but it would be great if if from this list, there's folks that would be willing to engage them and talk about, is there a willingness to maybe consider to serve? But then we want to keep this list as we go through this process, we might need to indirectly tap on some shoulders and say, okay, give me your thoughts, your opinions about this, or, okay, what is the connection do you have? Because we're casting the wide net of like, how do we build, again, just that ripple effect throughout the community? Because as you guys all listed off these folks, they likely know other people that aren't coming to mind today or that they might bring up. And then I would say, again, every community is different, that's the cliche, right? But how do, again, we build up other folks throughout your community that in time see themselves as leaders, even though they today might not say, I wear a leadership hat. And as you guys mentioned, again, that youth piece, how do we get folks that, again, across the age range, but particularly those that might be just coming out of high school, maybe in college, or even those that are actively in high school, how do you keep them engaged? Because, again, that is your community as well, and there's often a lot of great ideas that come from that. So if we can work on engaging the school district in some way, finding folks either, again, as students or teachers that are really connected, doesn't mean they have to serve, again, by coming to meetings all the time, but maybe they would pop in here or there, or at least if we have, say, some kind of larger convening of sorts, that they would be willing to be somebody that might be in the room then. And again, whether or not it's a time for sharing and collecting feedback, or if, again, hopefully it's listening and then going out and disseminating the information. So, okay, so we got this great list. I am going to challenge you guys now to think about, how do you feel about the REV process not being the EDA?
Bad.
Great, the more the merrier.
Okay, so do you feel all of you would want to be part of the core team, or are there some, again, you don't want to make people feel like shame or whatever, but are there some that say, I might step back from that if we know that there's other in the communities that would be willing to be on the group? I'd say ideally we'd want to stay in that under 10, but more than 5 usually, just because the smaller you get, the smaller the, sort of, again, that broader net of casting gets happening. So, do you feel like you would want to continue being a part of it? Again, I don't think that Ian wouldn't share updates through the EDA meetings like this, so that's where, again, want to give you time and space. Maybe that's something you want to personally share with Ian if you want to be involved, but I would move on to say then, if we're not doing it at the EDA, I would then be not wanting to do it at your EDA meetings. There's some benefits to that. It's not that it wouldn't be public meetings, but it wouldn't necessarily be, it doesn't fall into the guidelines of that it's truly an organized meeting from the city. So again, we'd have agendas, but it wouldn't be in detail as to what you guys have. A lot of more activity, again, at the first part of it before we move into, like, action. What's that ground game going on forward? But again, I would probably encourage us finding a time that isn't potentially middle of the day, just because, again, depending on who in this list, they might not have that flexibility. But also, again, this is up to you guys to kind of decide. And we don't have to settle on like a permanent meeting time right away, but I would like to see if we could meet another time in the month of January here. And again, hopefully maybe bring in some other additional folks. And at that first meeting, I would probably dive into, again, an outline of what really revs the program, E2 is actually kind of its parent organization out of Kansas, and the Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation has adopted most of that and then just renamed it as part of their collective as REV, their Rural Entrepreneurial Venture Program. Yes, Ian?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, you were gonna, felt like you were gonna say something, but, yes,
I would like to be behind the scenes,
okay.
not directly involved with we've just got negotiations coming up, and I'm not gonna have time for any extra meetings.
Sure, makes sense. Okay, and again, I'm not looking at people to be like, oh, I gotta pipe up or step down. Again, please share with Ian your thoughts, how you feel about that. But I do wanna then try to see, is there another date and time that we can meet this month in January? And within that, then I would ask, can we get some of the folks that are on this list to maybe be in attendance? We wouldn't make them committed to being a core team member at that point, but would offer the opportunity.
So, if you're thinking, like, some of us won't be on it, would we be better off contacting all these people through email or phone, and then trying to set a date with them? See if we could pick, instead of us setting a date and then asking them, maybe we could just quick ask?
That is a logical
I don't know.
thought. The challenge there is, again, you always get people's schedules that are gonna be wonky, and so sometimes it's saying, this is the date and time.
Okay.
Are you available? If you're not, we understand. Do you have interest, then, again, to stay engaged? But for the purpose of that meeting, this next meeting, if we could schedule it, would be, again, to go a little bit deeper into REV, and then just, again, gather some input about, like, pretty high level, what's going on in the community, what are people sort of loving, what are they maybe saying, hey, we could see some improvement on, right? So it'd be pretty high level, but to the point of saying, how do we keep some of these folks engaged to say, yeah, I would like to step forward and keep coming to meetings, and others that I'm gonna know, we're gonna be like, I'm good, thank you for the opportunity, but I'll stay engaged somehow.
I think we just pick a time, late January, to give people enough time to contact them and
Give
then,
a few more weeks.
Schedule it out.
Sure. Do you guys have anything, or Ian, you kinda got calendar pulled up.
That's what I was gonna say.
Is there anything crazy going on this January month, any actual social, sort of
You would
community events, other than?
Plan it here, so you'd have to plan
I'd
around.
probably host it, yeah, at your,
So there was no council or
Right.
board
so-
meetings here.
Right. So look at the other calendars.
On January 25 and 26, the Manorville and Casson chambers are having annual meeting, annual things. So probably not either of those nights.
good call out.
Fire departments is the 30th or 31st?
The last Tuesday of the month, I believe, for the Relief Association.
30th. So a lot of people won't be
Available for that.
available because of that.
Oh, they meet here too.
I would say in the space, may not.
Well, I just meant they were having their banquet.
Oh, that's on the 20th.
20th?
That's on a Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember.
Yeah, the banquet's on a Saturday. It's the 20th or 27th, it's a Saturday.
Okay, never mind then. 'Cause I just know some of those people we mentioned would be at that, so.
Maybe the 29th, or both that.
Monday night.
Should we try for January the 29th?
Yeah, let's do, January 29th.
Would like 6 o'clock be,
6 usually is a good time.
That works for me. I'm flexible.
Works for Ian, then.
It works for us.
Oh,
Okay.
I can.
Because Ian's in charge.
okay. So there will be a little bit of legwork from Ian in the sense that he'll get some coordinated about dates or the date and the time, and he'll send out that list. I'd like all of you to look at that list and at least identify one person that you could personally ask to attend. I know emails go out there, but how easy is it to be like, I just won't respond to that email, and/or I've got all these emails coming in. So sometimes email is an easy way to ignore. A personal request tends to go a little bit longer, okay? So, and again, it's not that any and all of these can't come. It would just be more those that you might think that would really say, I might wish to continue to go along with the ride. I will also acknowledge, and again, Ian came to our convening that happened in Spring Grove. There is a lot of ups and downs with Rev, because again, 3 years, there's a lot of change that happens, positive and negative. And usually that change happens within those that want to continue to stay on Rev. Hopefully, Ian, you stay in place, but we have some kind of staffing transition that occurs. Again, somewhere throughout the city entity as a whole. So I acknowledge that, again, some of the folks that we might start with may not be who we end with, and that's okay. But I am looking for folks that might, again, be willing to stay somewhat engaged throughout the entirety of the 3 years. But I also acknowledge that there's always something that happens, and life happens. And so this is really just an insert of your guys' regular lives, and now you're adding one more thing to the plate. And some of these folks, hopefully, their plate as well.
Can I ask you a quick
Yeah.
question? Okay, so I'll call, the two that I mentioned for the challengers,
Jerry Burke and John Talcott.
Okay.
What's our 30-second elevator talk to me? Hey, you want to join the REV program, come on the 29th and find out what it's about, or?
Sure.
What am I asking them to?
What are you asking them to be a part of? Okay, so that's a good question, and/or a good primer for all of you guys as well. So REV is called Rural Entrepreneur Venture. Really, it's how are you investing back into your community from an entrepreneurial focus and lens. So you guys all noted there's seemingly your Main Street and then your central business district. It's very important that we keep those districts thriving. So again, how are we engaging those that are already in business? But there's also this focus of how are we engaging those that think they want to be in business? How are we engaging those that are starting to say, hey, I'm nearing a point where I'm ready just to be out of the business? And then through this process, we're also going to identify through the businesses who's looking to actually have growth. Again, who's looking to sort of say, I'm scaling down, and then who's that emerging piece where like, well, I'm doing okay here, but I'm not sure how do I bridge to the next step. So I'd say as you're talking to folks, it's really focused on business, but it's not just them running a business. It is how are we building the community around that. So you guys noted some of that infrastructure piece. You need housing, you need people to be here, you need the workforce to want to be employed by those businesses if they are at a stage that they have or need employees. It's identifying, I think in some of the application materials, it was identifying what complementary businesses could we have in this community. You guys noted the proximity of other communities. Where is there already some strengths in those communities that we're not maybe trying to compete with? The last thing I guess I'll say in terms of the program is it's about hosting events, but it's not necessarily meant to be like a chamber activity. It's not meant to be how are we promoting always just the businesses from a sort of let's do business with them angle. It's again kind of diving more into how are you doing as a business, and is there things that we can be providing you as tools to either, again, make your business flourish in a different way. So I would be, I guess, cautious of making it sound like it's a chamber-esque type activity. That being said, I would be welcome to any chamber individuals that want to come because, again, that brings the lens, and it sounds like some of you are pretty active with the chamber already. Okay, great. That we're not trying to sort of duplicate activities that the chamber might already do, but there's definitely things we could be partnering with other entities, whether it's the chamber, if it's some, again, established businesses, school, things like that. So it takes many turns, and it's really actually even hard to talk about, like, what is it, because it's really about trying to create just this groundswell and vibe that, like, we welcome business. We're going to work hard to, help any business in a sense, but we also have to be strategic and maybe target certain types of businesses.
Okay.
So
Perfect, thank you.
it really kind of depends on you guys in the end and kind of how you shape it.
Does anybody know a contact at Mail? I know we have a community liaison that supposedly
Yeah,
Ken, do you know who that is, or who?
Yes, Stephanie Olson.
'Cause this might be something they
Yeah,
might be
this-
interested in being involved
this
versus the
actually-
chamber or something like that.
You're right, so I visited with Stephanie probably 6-7 months ago, and I asked them, how does Mayo Clinic want to be involved in Casson more? And they said, well, are there boards or committees we could have people serve on?
Well.
And really, more of like.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, and she was saying, really, the type that's more at like a high level. So
Higher level, yeah.
I said, well, because she asked about the chamber board, and I said, what you're describing to me is.
It's not it.
Chamber board, because we're all volunteers, can be more hands-on.
Right.
And she's like, oh, we don't want that. We want like, more like vision level type, thinking type board. So this might be a really good fit for that.
Mhm.
And I think this is the groundswell concept, kind of investing in more the concept of communities, that's.
Maybe reach out
Yeah.
to them on that, that would be,
Yeah, if we, and to that point, if we think of more people, can we just also reach out to them too, and
Yeah,
just,
again, and so this next meeting, we'll try to be a little bit more into like what is REV. Coming up, we have worked with the University of Minnesota Extension. They've done their, what's called, Development Opportunity Profile, and so again, gives a little highlight of like, conditions within the community, and it digs deep. We'll have Neil present that, and we can also talk about, is that more of, again, a larger community kind of convening where we want more folks to hear it? They may not stay directly involved, but it's good information for them to hear, or again, so there's a couple bigger type things that can be coming up. So again, folks that maybe are on this list don't necessarily feel like they're going to stay entirely involved in every aspect of it, but maybe they'll kind of come in and out. Maybe they just want to stay informed, and that can be decided upon. So, recognizing that you guys are nearing sort of the end of your meeting, I wasn't looking to do anything with the secondary piece of in the packet that talks about job descriptions, but I wanted you guys to take that home and take a look at that, because that's, again, something else we will want to get to is just defining who in the roles that we have. I feel like automatically Ian is the coordinator. And I'm the coach, but there's other things about folks that want to be maybe a chair or co-chair. There's other, a document or things like that. So just wanted to encourage you guys to read through that information, and then if that calls to you, if that's something that you want to be, make sure you note that for yourself, and then we'll work through, again, getting to that point. But I didn't want to establish the roles today because, again, thinking about we really kind of want to think about who is our core team first before we're saying this role, this role, this role. So that's my time for the day. I'll be sticking around, so I guess if you have any other questions, maybe chat with me afterwards. So I feel like I hate time-bound meetings sometimes because I feel like, now we got to rush to get the next one done. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
thank you.
Next, we got other business, if there's any. We've covered most. And items for February, obviously there'll be some more REV discussion. There will be, especially since we hopefully have the next meeting before, there will be hopefully an answer from crop science. Well, there's going to be an answer one way or another.
Well,
that's our goal.
yeah.
And if you think of any other ideas or any other things you need, you can reach out to Ian between now and then. I guess that is all I've got. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody.
hit your button.
I forget that sometimes.
My